interpretation. Judges use 4 different rules or approaches when dealing with the statute. This requires interpretation. They are free to use any of the 4 approaches in combination with other aids to interpret discussed in this section. Literal rule. The judge will give the words contained in the statute their ordinary and plain meaning, even if this causes an absurd result. Many feel this should be the first rule applied by judges in the interpretation of an unclear statute. Case. Whiteley v. Chappell, 1868. In this case, it was an offence to impersonate anyone entitled to vote at an election. The defendant in question had pretended to be a dead person and taken their vote. He was found not guilty of the offence as the judge interpreted the word entitled literally. As the dead person is no longer entitled to vote, the defendant had done nothing wrong.
Golden rule. If the literal rule causes an absurd result, the judge can take a more flexible approach to rectify the absurdity. Courts can take either a narrow or wide interpretation considering the statute as a whole. With both the golden and literal rules, judges use internal intrinsic aids. Case. Adler v. George, 1964. Section 3 of the Official Secrets Act 1920 states that it is an offence to obstruct a member of the armed forces in the vicinity of a prohibited place. The defendant in the case had obstructed an officer in an army base, a prohibited place, and argued that the natural meaning of in the vicinity of means in the surrounding area or near to, and not directly within. Had the judge applied the literal rule, he could have escaped prosecution, but the judge used the golden rule to reasonably assume that the statute to include both within and around the prohibited place.
The mischief rule. Laid down in Hayden's case and allowed the judge to look for a mischief or problem the statute in question was passed to remedy. It directs the judge to use external intrinsic aids and look for Parliament's intention in passing the Act. Case. Elliott v. Gray, 1960. It is an offence under the Road Traffic Act 1930 to use an uninsured car on the road. In this case, a broken down car was passed on the road but was not able to be used as a result of its wheels being off the ground and its battery removed. The judge decided that the Road Traffic Act 1930 was passed to remedy this type of hazard, and even though the car could not be used on the road, it was indeed a hazard to other road users.
Purposive approach. Similar to the mischief rule in that it looks for the intentional aim of the Act, this approach has increased in popularity since joining the European Union, due in part to the different way that European laws are drafted. Whilst our laws are more verbose and suit a literal interpretation, European laws are more vaguely written, requiring the judge to construct a meaning. Lord Denning was a supporter of the use of the purposive approach in giving judges more discretion when interpreting acts. As the title of the approach suggests, with this rule, judges are looking for the purpose of the Act, or as Lord Denning said, the spirit of the legislation. Case. Magor and St Mellons Rural District Council v Newport Corporation, 1950. Lord Denning, sitting in the Court of Appeal, stated, "We sit here to find out the intention of Parliament and of ministers and carry it out, and we do this better by filling in the gaps and making sense of the enactment by opening it up to destructive analysis." Lord Simmons criticised this approach when the case was appealed to the House of Lords, calling this approach a naked usurpation of the legislative function under the thin disguise of interpretation. He suggested that if a gap is disclosed, the remedy lies in an amending act.